This old guy DIY video, we're going to be looking at 3 thermal monoculars, kind of a budget, a mid, and a high-end model, talking about their specifications, how they handle, and then specifically looking at how they work as a tool, mainly for a photographer, so wildlife photographer, and main uses being mammals or birds, specifically larger birds such as eagles, ospreys, and owls. The main use for these thermals out in the world is for large game hunters in wide open areas. So these companies are usually catering towards people hunting wild boar or coyotes or other predators, foxes, things like that. And we'll find out that that is key because the market is catering towards a narrow field of view, looking at wide open fields. And what we actually want in terms of photographers, what I'm finding is that the wider field of view is better, and a lot of the manufacturers nowadays do not have any offerings in that area. So I'll flash up on the screen a spreadsheet that I've built looking at all of the common thermal monoculars and all of their specs, prices, whatever. So initially I bought this Telos LRF XP50, was the first thermal I ever bought. You can see it's one of, if not the most expensive thermals you could buy. Pulsar is turning out to be a great brand. A lot of people know them. But after I got this, it left a lot to be desired for the type of work I was doing. So as a wildlife photographer with an interest in kind of smaller mammals and especially birds of prey like owls, we'll see that the field of view on this Telos, it's about 12.5 degrees. I believe this Helion XP28 is around 22 degrees, and the AGM up there I think is around 17. But what we'll find is while this Telos unit provides outstanding image quality and the detail is amazing, it's very annoying to use in everyday use because the narrow field of view really limits how fast you can scan, and you have to be much more thorough and invest a lot more time. And what I've found is that even the highest end and most expensive models do not provide enough image quality for you to be able to accurately ID what you're looking at. So in the majority of time, you're just going to be scanning, looking for a heat source, and then once you have the heat source, you're going to be pulling out a binoculars or a camera lens to get the specific ID. You'll see that you can kind of tell just by size, whether you're looking at a squirrel or a raccoon, a saw-whet owl, or a great horned owl. But still, the main purpose is you just want to scan the area you're in, see where the heat spots are, and then change to something else. So as our test here, we have the backyard with a large river, and then over on the other side are some Canadian geese. So 2 of the models do not have a rangefinder, but the expensive Telos does. So I'll hit it with the rangefinder, see how far they are, and see what this whole area looks like. And then as you might notice, we are in daytime. It's about 4 p.m. Eastern here, sun is high in the sky, and a lot of people misunderstand thermal technology and they don't realize that it can work in the daytime. So as part of this, we'll also demonstrate how well it works in broad daylight. First up, we have the Pulsar Telos XP50 LRF. And we can see looking at the screen that those geese over there are about 80 yards across the way. It did just go through an automatic calibration, that's what that was. So you can see, easily identify the geese. We've got some smaller critters out there, perhaps a squirrel. And you can see the heat from some of the trees in the sun. But the issue with this unit, although the image quality is great, if you were to scan and look around, you have to move a lot more. So we've actually got several geese out there, some smaller critters. If we look up closer, we don't have anything at the bird feeder currently, but there's the heated bird feeder. And the picture-in-picture is nice, so you can see we've got a 5x zoom up there at the top. But again, if I hadn't known that these were geese beforehand, maybe by behavior I could tell, but certainly for the smaller animals, or if there were deer or something out there, like this blob right here, no way to tell really if it's kind of a small owl, a squirrel, very small raccoon. You need to look at the animal's behavior or switch optics to be able to figure that out. So next up we have the Pulsar Helion XP28, which is my favorite thermal monocular that I've tested. And as you can see, much wider field of view here, and we can easily pick out the heat sources. Oh, here's an automatic calibration. Much easier to pick out the heat sources out there. And it does have zoom functionality, which I may try to get into here in a second. I don't usually use it. Again, for me, the main purpose of a thermal is I want to be able to scan quickly and see all of the heat sources and then determine if I want to look at it more. So again, there's the bird feeder over in the yard. I think it said on the other unit it was about 20 yards out to the heated bird feeder. Let's see, is that actually a bird? No. But yeah, so you can see for my uses, it's far better to have a wide field of view. And then finally, we have the AGM TM10-256. So this is just about the cheapest entry-level scope I would personally go with. You can identify that there are some heat sources out there. Again, it's got a nice wide field of view, but because the sensor and the display resolution are so small, there's really no ID capability here. You're basically looking at the bare minimum, find a heat source, and then go check it out with binoculars or something else. So if you really wanted to get into thermal, this is certainly the cheapest way. I would say about $500 is what I would expect. I wouldn't try for anything cheaper. And I believe that, or I know for a fact, AGM has another model that's a little bit nicer, one step up. So it's an AGM TM10 384, I believe, and I think that one is going to end up being the ticket for the best value monocular out there. I haven't tried one yet. I will probably buy one soon, and then I will be able to review it if so. Again, we can see all of the geese out there in terms of heat source, but no idea what they really are. And some of the squirrels and stuff that we were looking at, again, we can see the heat source, but that's kind of where it ends. And now I'll post up some pictures of different areas taken with each of the three thermal scopes to kind of give you an idea. Top left image will be the most expensive, the Telos XP50. Top right will be the middle ground, the Helion XP28. And the bottom left will be the cheapest unit, the AGM TM10-256. Keep in mind that all of these look much better in the viewfinder of the optic. For whatever reason, when it's exported to a computer, the quality decreases. So in the monocular itself, the XP50 and the XP28 just look gorgeous. Again, the AGM unit is the cheapest. Understandably, it's bare bones, so you're not going to get a whole lot there. And it just kind of depends on what you need. You can notice the field of view difference. So in the Telos in the top left, it's a much narrower field of view. It's designed to be used for coyote hunters that are looking, 300-400 yards out at an open field, with not many heat sources. And again, that's why I think field of view is so important if you're into wildlife photography. Hopefully I'll get some examples testing these in a thicker area, because shooting across the river is pretty open. But I've tested all three of them in wooded areas, and it's just no contest. The Telos in the top left with the narrow field of view is an absolute pain to use. The image quality is great, but when you're spending that much money and you're just investing so much time scanning, and you can miss stuff so easily, my choice by far is the Helion XP28. Again, they are discontinued. They're really hard to find. So I'm continuing my search, and we'll be testing more thermals, trying to find the best value for the money. But that's kind of the review so far. So to summarize, if you just want to get into the thermal game, use it to help you identify something, the cheap $500 AGM, perfectly fine. You'll be able to find heat sources. It'll get the job done. If you want to have a little bit more ID capability, you can step up to the Helion XP28, and that's actually the model that I will never be selling unless something better comes out. But again, the manufacturers don't seem to care about having wide field of view monoculars, so I don't expect something better coming out anytime soon. And for the most expensive unit, the Telos XP50, Again, these manufacturers, their top of the line ones have narrow field of view because that's what benefits these coyote hunters. They're not making these things with a photographer in mind or a birder in mind. So I'll also flip up the spreadsheet, and I'll see if I can find a way to attach it, which I think I went through like 40 or 50 different models and took all of the different specs. And maybe I'll do an additional video on the specs that matter. But essentially, for me, in my experience, the field of view is the #1 most important. And then after that, you can kind of get into the sensor sizes, the display resolution, the NETD, which is, you know, the smallest amount of thermal difference that a unit can pick up. There's really a lot to it. It's been quite a rabbit hole. But if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to post them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.